So this will be available. We'll make a YouTube video of it, so it will be public. So I just want to tell you that so that you can be in control of your share. At times, I'm very particular about allowing, after we close the recording, for you to be able to continue the conversation beyond that. So I will stay on at the end if you want to ask something a little more deep. But I want you to be in charge of your space. Okay, great. All right. So today we're talking about owning your story. And you may ask me, why does this slide say real leadership? But this is my whole definition of this, is that resilient leaders have reconciled with their stories. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Kate Pintor. I am a transformational strengths coach with certifications in awake coaching, which is for organizational development and private development, and also strength strategy and people acuity. So I have coached over 10,000 hours, coach, train, facilitate. That's my group of numbers. So I've been with people on the ins and outs of their goals and visions and needs for a lot of years. And I started my business when I got out of the hospital in 2014 after living 10 years with reflex sympathetic dystrophy, which still lingers. So everything that you see me doing online, I heard someone say, "You're everywhere." And yes, strategically, I have a nice team that makes that happen. But there is a space in that where it has happened really quickly because I know what my strengths are. And along that way, I think the biggest thing that's really pushed my business through the next level, because very few coaches make it as far as I've come, was how I've reconciled my value, my identity, and this whole story concept. So when I first came out, I think someone's trying to get in here, but when I first got out of the hospital, I was advised by a business coach to not tell anybody that I had been on permanent disability, that they thought I'd never walk again. And not to, like, there were ways that I could share about my story and there were ways I shouldn't, and it would be bad for my branding and marketing. And so when I started off, I didn't allow any of my story to be involved. Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm just not, I don't know what to do, because now I feel like I'm a late bloomer. How do I reconcile the last 10 years? So you want me to go from marketing executive to project manager, gap in history. And it felt wrong, but I really trusted him and his success. So I just numbed part of that and just tried to keep up and make my work fit in to who I, made up in my head was doing what I wanted to do in the industry. And I felt this space of compartmentalization, and it worked. It was effective, but there was part of me that I was leaving behind. So as I moved forward in the journey and taking the marketing advice, I did put all of my marketing expertise into the mix, but there was this fear that there would be overwhelm at times. There would be vulnerability because I didn't know how people would feel if they really knew what had happened. I didn't know if I would lose my credibility. I didn't know why I was stopping myself at different times. And I met with somebody and worked with a group of people, and they started talking to me about the impact of your trauma on your performance and on your business. And they were sharing with me some information that I'd known before because I was trained, but to feel it and actually recognize that my story, I couldn't compartmentalize it because there were symptoms that it was leaking out in just how I dealt with stress and how I spoke up and the people I would choose to work with or not. And the first 2 years, 80% of my clients were men. 80%. My LinkedIn went crazy bonkers. And it was fun and it was great and it was effective. They love strengths, productive, and all of that. But then I went and I spoke with the coach, and he's like, "Why do you think that is? That 80% of them are men?" And I had to dig deep. Now, my first automatic thought, I'll be honest, was, is there something wrong with that? Or what are you making up about me? My clients are men. Can I not coach men? Or, I didn't know what would the assumption was in his question. But then I started to realize it's because I wasn't offering any vulnerability. wasn't offering the vulnerability. So I was unemotional and very strategic in my way of being with them. And that's what that attracted. So did I imagine myself working with those people for that length of time? I wasn't loving it. I loved doing it. I loved the work, but I kept stopping myself because I didn't want more of them. I remember one time I was asked to do some empathy coaching for the vice president of a bank, which is, empathy coaching is an interesting space to hold. And I recognized in that moment, this is not what I want to be doing. I'm not actually working with or drawing. I'm drawing people who will pay me a lot of money. I'm not enjoying it. So there was no way for it to move beyond until I reconciled, like, how else do I have to show up authentically so that the right people can find me in my quirks and all. And the right people would then be inspired by my story, and it would add to my credibility, and I could create more value because there was more of me available. How many of you are resonating with that at some point in that journey? So when I wanted to be the expert, which I am on many things, that's my training, ins and outs of the strengths world, but no joy. And that was another recipe to get tired. My ability to do that is probably how I got sick in the first place. Let's just be honest. So I was okay working without the joy, but I didn't know how to hold the joy or how to show up for it. So I went back and I thought about all of the ways that I got myself out of that wheelchair. When I got out of the wheelchair, I thought I was going to end up back in it. But I was super excited about beginning a new journey. And all of you know for your journeys that when you start, at the beginning, it sounds like a really great idea. It sounds like a great idea. You have so many ideas for what you're about to do. You actually have inspiration. You're getting your plans. You're excited talking to new people. Whatever that business is, at the beginning, it's like, and my theme song for this, when I do it in a live event, is Beyond the Sea. Because it's just like, somewhere, you know that song? Beyond the sea. Like, it was this whole, like, I just felt like the music was playing, everything was going to work out. But then in the back, I'm like, I hope I don't end up back in the wheelchair. I wasn't sure if my future worked out. And even if you aren't overcoming an illness, maybe you're coming out of divorce, or maybe you have childhood trauma, or there's other things, there's this little belief that we have to shift. Because we're actually not sure if it works out. We're not even building as though it does. We're just grateful. We hustle. We do the next thing. We really don't know. Do I get to do this? Can I do it? Am I qualified to do it? So we do hide part of ourselves as we start moving forward. So even though there's a dream, and then sometimes we find ourselves overreacting to the people we're actually doing the dream with. We just overreact to it. Because in our heads, where it sounds really great, we're going to partner with them, but we really don't know how to hold each other's stories. Because everybody has shame, everybody is imagining things coming in. We don't know how to work together. So we take a strengths test. And for those of you that haven't done that with me before, Strengths Finder is one of the tools that I use to kind of get everyone going. We're like, we're going to take strengths, and we're going to focus on the positive, we're going to play to those, and we're going to hit the goal. We're all going to play to our strengths. And I can fill up an entire class. We actually have another 21-day strengths challenge beginning of August. You're welcome to join us. And we can do that for a little while, and it does work. And we hold hands, and we sing strength songs, and we appreciate what's working. And that works for a minute, because it is change you when you realize how unique you are. So it does help. 1 in 278,000 have the same top 5 talents in random order, and 1 in 33.4 million have the same top 5 in the same order, according to Gallup. So when you find people, then in the back of your head, this is what people tell me. They're like, I'm just going to find somebody that's 4 out of my 5 because we're going to vibe together, and then we can do it. And that's a rational thought, but it's also your trauma. Because we're not sure how to hold people who are different. We're not actually even sure how to hold our own talent. So your board of directors is your top 10 talent themes. Everybody you work with also has 10 talent themes. And I just told you the rarity that your board of directors are going to be the same. That is a lot of internal voices and internal instruction and internal habits and internal criticism. But when you can identify those 10 talents and understand how they developed, you actually can smooth out that table in your head and learn and find different ways of intention to accomplish your goal. Can you just learn what the definitions are? You could. That's one way to do it. But there's a more substantive exploration, which is to know, like, if you have achiever, who valued that? How did you get praise for that? So for every result that you get in your top 10, it's really magical to start understanding, what are they trying to contribute? What do they, like, when everything is working in your high energy and it's working out well and you can see your impact and other people see your impact and you can identify what it is about you that's creating that, you're going to notice your doubt and your fear of not being credible and the imposter syndrome start to dissipate. It doesn't last forever. This is it's a muscle we have to develop. But then you can start looking at your impact and examining your way of being and your preferred way of doing. And when you embrace your preferred way of being and doing and think about the impact you want to have as you're building your business, you create a no judgment zone and other people can be authentic around you and work with you. So you end up turning down all of that because there's an appreciation that all of the strengths are equal. We just all need something different. And we have to have better conversations to get there. So where do you need to grow in terms of owning your story? How is your story impacting? Well, I can tell that there's some symptoms that you can look. If you ever get foggy, and actually I'm going to stop my screen for a second so that I can see your faces. If you ever notice yourself feeling overwhelmed, you can raise your hand or not. You can also share your strengths in the chat box if you want to. Ever feel overwhelmed? It's like there's something about us that even this habit of creating overwhelm, I'm really great at that, where we get in drive mode and we can not create the margin that we're actually going to need to accomplish what's there. Or overwhelm is just like I lost touch of what I needed along the way and I didn't know when and where to ask for help, or I'm under-supported for the vision that I set out to create. I'm under-supported. There might be additional support that I didn't even know that I needed. So when we identify overwhelm, we're able to look a little bit deeper and see what that's about. What are my strengths needing here? Where was the help that I needed to have? Is that help going to appear? Second is a lack of focus. So you can have over-focus in one area, but there's also a lack of focus. And so I have days where, because I still have residual nerve pain, and I have days where I'm like, I can't remember what I'm supposed to be doing. So if it's not on my calendar, my assistant knows this, everything has to be on that calendar because there's no way at this level in my business I can retain that. So some of that lack of focus is health related. Some of it might be emotional, that I have to make sure I'm staying grounded and in tune and develop those rituals for that. And also lack of focus can just be when you're having the success and you are at a tipping point, your brain is going to get inflamed at times. Your fight or flight is going to go off because simultaneously with your success, your brain is telling you this is not safe. Let me show you an example of what that looks like. So yes, we want that vision, but we're stopping ourselves against it because subconsciously it is not safe. So an example of that would be, I'm going to draw this. I want you to learn to draw this. So draw it in your notebook. You'll be able to use the screen, but I want you to learn to draw this, especially if you're mentoring people or coaching yourself. So up here you have your vision and the dream. Maybe you're in touch with your why. You know, why this particular vision. But there's a vision. Now notice I'm not saying goals. Sometimes I collapse those because I am very goal driven. So I'm like, what is your goal? And this is what's happening on the way there. So sometimes those are synonymous to me, but the larger vision of what you're up to, hold that. Like, this is the purpose stuff. This is the significance of where you're heading. And then down at the bottom here is reality. So that means what's really, really happening right now, if we were honest. So you might be like, I have all of these coaching programs, or I have this product that I'm selling, or I'm planning to buy a house, whatever those things are. But the reality is, if we looked at what's happening right now, if I asked you what was holding you back from doing that, you would have a lot of answers. You would have a lot to say about what's holding you back. You would be very in touch with the obstacles, most likely. How many of you can resonate with that? And almost like they're just on your to-do list right now because you're going to overcome them. And a lot of you know that you'll overcome them, but you're very, very present. And so I like to say, this is how I was taught to teach this, but there's like a gravity here that's occurring. So the reality is pulling you away from that present and the future that you want to be in. Now, when that happens, you're going to notice, especially if you get triggered. How many of you have ever gotten triggered? All of your strengths have a different trigger. What you expect of yourself and someone else. We have a chart that actually has all of that data on there to help you understand what those triggers are about. And there's this tension that can happen. And that tension, you might note some of this when you learn to leverage it. See if I can change the color on that. When you learn to leverage that tension, you innovate. The best ideas can be born in this space. The best ideas. That's why I'm moving today, but I'm also doing this class because I'm so in touch with my vision today, and I wanted to make a stand for yours. And even though I'm moving tomorrow, and I have boxes everywhere, I'm sitting in front of a box right now. I know if I leverage this moment and I allow that to come in that space, and I'm honest about what's in that space and what it actually takes to get there. What does it take to get out of your wheelchair? You have to shift how you relate to this tension. This tension can say, stop, turn around. It could be like, they don't want it. You need to learn more. Maybe later. I'll do that tomorrow. All of those things. A million stories can go off in your head when you hit that tension. And none of them are wrong or bad. It's just that's what your strengths are going to tell you. You have different strengths, they're going to tell you something else. You have high restorative, it's going to show you the exit. You have maximizer, it's going to tell you if you're not doing it well enough. Or you'll have more ideas to work on it. You have achiever, you could probably do more. You might even shit on some people around you along the way. You might actually leverage that tension and start judging and shaming your downline, your partners, your spouse, and be looking at what they haven't finished yet. So there's all different kinds of ways to relate to this tension. But if I'm innovating and I know how to leverage it, or I just have some self-compassion, I learn, like, where did that tension come from? When I know that, I'm not afraid. I can hear those urges to pull back and stop, and I can make a new choice and find a new resource to keep going. And then I can do that for somebody else, because when I see them backing away, instead of pitying them and holding them as fragile and incapable, I can remind them who they are and that it's possible to keep going, and remind them of what that vision is. And if you are in leadership or leading your life or leading other people, this is your work to do, is to call people forth into that, call their true self forth so that they can stay with what they committed to and hold them as capable. One of the most important things. So that gravity and that tension. And I have another word for this little show here. Some of you know this. Sorry if I offend you. This is what we call your shit show. One of my clients bought me a rug that says, "Welcome to the shit show," because she calls me her shit show trainer. It's cracking me up. And I have it out on my porch right now. It is a space just to know that the way you sabotage is also your crazy that you're trying to hide when you need to look good, be right, be comfortable, and be in control. We all have it. But once you know what that is, and you know that's your habit, that's your go-to, and you stop shaming it, you can have a little humor about it, and then it doesn't last as long. You actually get up faster. You're more resilient. Everybody has one. If you notice yourself really irritated by the show that other people are putting on, you're like, oh, here comes the party. I see it again. They always do this right before they break their word. Notice the judgment that you have. Shift from judgment into curiosity. Wonder why they're relating to that in that way. You have to take a 30,000-foot view. If you're just in this reactive mode at sea level and in your leadership for yourself and others, you don't know how to get up to 30,000 feet and look at it in a different way. Write that down. This is the part of your leadership that it's time for you to get curious about. This is blind spot inquiry. Being curious about what's happening in there. What is really going on, instead of just reacting to it and making assessments. Okay, so we're going to keep going here. Start thinking. If you know what your show is, write some notes down. see what that might be. Okay. So this is one from one of my doTERRA classes. I want you to copy this, and I'm actually going to show you. You can just rename it. It's in Canva. If you want a copy of it, let me know. You can put your name on it if you'd like to. It's also called the leadership journey. Call it whatever you wanted to call it. But you need to learn how to teach this. If you are in this room today and you're looking at your own story, this is the map of how to do it. The first few slides that we talked about, this excited, getting started and looking at it, then you move into focus, you're planning, there's skills that you need to learn, there's tools. Like there's so much madness out there, a million programs that people are trying to get you to sign up for. All of this happens up until that yellow triangle right there. Like which one should we do now? Now we should do sales. Now we should do closing. Now we should do, let's do that. Because we just want to pump everybody up. Let's do strengths again. Did we do strengths? Did we do strengths enough? Can we come back and do more strengths? Those are the messages I get every year. Can we do more? I'm like, absolutely, let's do more. But we can do more, but until we have these conversations on the right side of the screen, you're just going to keep cycling through these things that aren't going to actually create this transformation. You're going to be repeating all of this early stuff, and it feels good for a minute, but people are going to get tired. You're going to get tired. You're going to burn yourself out. Because you know what you need to do when you can come into that confidence. You actually, you still need support, but you don't need all of the mass crazy busy support that's available. And you know what? All of my industry will sell it to you. They will sell it to you. They will commoditize it. They will package it. They will hire people to write the copy, and you will buy it. And it's a billion-dollar industry. And the amount of people that finish those courses is less than 8%, which is unfortunate. We have an 80 to 100% ratio in our Into the Looking Glass course because we do it live. We have mentors, and people get to stay forever. They may not all engage in the same way, but there is a difference in taking this approach than just learning those little skills. Then you feel bad because you bought it and you didn't do it. I know how many of you have experienced that. You're like, I'm totally going to do that. I'm going to get that blueprint, which is going to tell me how to get to 6 figures or triple 6 figures. And now I have the blueprint and I've saved it and I am going to sit down and do it. That's, like in that moment, you just click, you download, you get the email. And I built my entire business without an email campaign. I don't like emailing people. I engage with them in relationship. Because I don't want to open those and I don't want to sell to you in that way at this moment. So doubt, when you get in, whatever the obstacle is for you, when you're not feeling it anymore, the first question you have is there something wrong with me? And of course you think that. Of course you think that. And then you're going to take a strengths test, and we're going to start looking at your identity and also look at what's right with you. And you're going to appreciate that and feel seen for the first time. It's going to feel good. And then it's going to wear off. And then you're going to start wondering what's wrong with other people who have those particular strengths that are in your bottom 5, and what the heck are they thinking while they're doing their business? Why aren't they moving fast enough? And how do I get along with them? How am I supposed to get along with them? Or how come they don't understand me? Or all of those different questions. Because now you're getting more specific on what's not working again. It's hard to stay in the what is working. You want to analyze it. You want to get underneath it. How do I motivate them? How do I get people to keep their word to themselves? I do have a formula for that. But it's not expectation. Then we start getting into raising your emotional intelligence. So how do we do that? That is strengths intelligence. That's learning myself, learning them, and then applying it towards whatever goal that is. So looking at the situation. But until you get to the door of despair, and remember, you're all going to learn how to teach this chart. Put your own title, whatever you want to name it. Until you get to that door of despair, where you're not sure if you want to do it anymore. I hope you get there. I want to help you get there quick. Or I don't know if I want to work with them anymore. Or what if they can? Whatever that honesty is in that reality, when you face the reality, that's when you're ready to start working on your story. That's when it's time to look at the trauma. That's when it's time to start healing the journey and embracing in a new level and trying out different things and going deep, opening maybe some doors you didn't want to open anymore. but doing it in a way that produces results. We don't open those boxes just to open the boxes. If you've ever had sexual abuse, emotional abuse in your history, you know how sacred those boxes are. And to even just work on your business, you're like, how can I do that emotional labor and get up and call all these people back? We want to like divide ourselves and be like, I don't even want to go there, or my whatever I'm making up in my head, I don't even want to go there because then I can't function. There are ways to do it and to identify what that is, but it's quicker. It's quicker than just opening it for the sake of opening it. I'm one of those people that does, because of my focus, I don't like doing both. It's really hard. If I'm in my emotion and the vulnerability, I do get foggy. My fight or flight goes off because I have trauma in my background. So I'm very strategic about when I do that work. And that's why I designed a process that allows people to take a high level through and then decide who to do the work with. Because I just can't live in that all the time, in that exploration, personally. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the honest comments in there. Feel free to keep talking to each other too, or sharing your story. So in that place of despair, when you're ready to look and say, hey, what's going on with my story? How is it impacting me? You know, is my lack of focus possibly here? Is the procrastinating? Am I ready to stop judging myself and shaming myself for what I'm getting done or not getting done? Is this as good as it gets? Is my dream big enough? Some of you have trauma that you don't even know what you don't know about how capable you are of a bigger vision. You've got to hang out with some people that are going to press that button and raise the ceiling. I would not be where I am today. And I have not arrived anywhere. I'm just always in growth. I'm committed to that growth and constant transformation because I have a lot of people in my life that remove my ceiling for me. I don't have to go out there and break it. They're just like, that wasn't a ceiling. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's always been a ceiling. It wasn't a ceiling. What about that? I'm like, oh. And I just find new ways of looking at it because they're stretching me and they see it differently, and I share openly about what I'm vulnerable about. So in the end of that, do you want to enjoy your work? Do you want to have more momentum towards the goal? Do you want to not resist or resent the work that it takes to get there? How many of you are hating what it takes? You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be constant. When am I going to see my fruit of all of this labor? Like, what if you could just have joy doing that? Is that possible? Yes. It doesn't have to always feel hard. There's ways to honor and a way to relate to it where you have compassion for what holds you back because you know what's happening and how you stop yourself. You get up faster and you move faster, and that is where your momentum comes. That's how you get into the flow. And then you notice that as soon as you commit to that, the universe just meets you there. Like literally over and over and over again. Provision follows commitment. When you commit to a process for joy, to walk in your purpose, you're going to notice the help appears. I promise that happens. I'm not saying that there won't be hard things that come or people won't disappoint you or that you're not going to be able to do it all yourself. But every step along the way, help has appeared for me. Over and over and over again. I still don't trust it necessarily. At times I'm like, when the good stuff happens, I'm like, well, this can't actually work out. I'm moving into this house this week. You can see the post on my wall. And when it happened, I'm like, well, this is a scam. That can't happen. And every time, and because I had that belief, that undercurrent belief, I haven't even enjoyed it yet. I haven't even celebrated because I'm just like, well, and now we have the keys. My husband's already rekeyed it. And in there, and I'm still going, well, we'll see. In the back of my head, we'll see. We'll see if this is for real. Like literally, it's in your name. You have a key. It's still stopping it. Like that's what we do. I've lost a home before. I've lost a relationship before. I've lost my health before. People I counted on disappointed me. I've disappointed other people. And in that space, when we don't know how to reconcile all of that, when we're building our dream, it sneaks out in the oddest places. Does the mindset stuff work? Yes, it can work, but there's no way that you can positivity yourself enough and stay inspired enough to have everything just run together and go there. because life happens along the way. You can't pump yourself up enough to do it because that is still efforting. It's just not going to work. It'll work some days, but you're going to need cheerleaders. You're going to need support. You're going to have to ask yourself some raw, honest conversations. So awesome. Thank you, Katie and Elizabeth. So we're going to look at your vision now. We're going to do something really practical and work on this together. So I want you to take out a piece of paper, and I want you to write on the top of it, tolerations. We're actually going to do one of my exercises from the Looking Glass course, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end. I'm only teaching it one more time this year, personally. There will be other people that can teach it, but this is my last live class. So at the top, write tolerations. In the chat box, if you can, tell me what you think tolerations means to you, and then I will share my definition. Just when I say tolerate, what was your gut instinct? Things that I put up with. Awesome. Endure. Ooh. I got a gut reaction to that. Awesome. Let's see what else is here. Effort. Yes, Ethel. Harmful things I allow. Yeah, things I allow, for sure. So let's take a look at this. What is an incompletion? So it's something you know you need to do. Like you know you need to do it. You don't do it. So you have your vision. There's things that you know you need to do to get that vision to go. Or conversations you know you need to say, but you haven't yet. Just be present with that for a second. If you're thinking of a few of those, write down the first 5 things that come to you. What are some things? A toleration is our ability to handle a level of procrastination or dysfunction. And I would assert the reason that we do that is that we have lowered the bar of our expectation because of our history, because of what happened up until now. So there's beliefs under there based on what happened. When things happen, you make a belief about who people are and what's possible. You don't even know that you're doing it. It's not even something you did on your own, because there were a lot of other people involved in you getting here. You know, your origin story, how those strengths formed, your environment, your culture, part of the world that you live in, jobs that you've had, television you've watched. So toleration is our ability to handle that. I can tolerate a lot of dysfunction because I have a ranger in my top 5. Any other arrangers? I see the organization. Yeah, Ethel, that's great. I just see the path through it. It doesn't look like dysfunction to me. I grew up in a crazy house with a bunch of kids. My parents had a restaurant. And so there was always chaos. And I just see the path right through it. I know it. I can see what's there. It doesn't trigger me. If I had grown up in a house that had lots of order and very clear agreements about things, that was less flexible. My mom has adaptability. I think my dad has adaptability. And adaptability right now is my 34, but I married somebody with it. And his number 2. So my arranger can do it, but I'm not necessarily as adept at switching gears. Yes, adaptability can allow for a lot of toleration. Yes, Katie. Yeah, and Danielle says she cannot handle chaos at all. Yeah, do you have high harmony, Danielle? I'm curious. So, but there's other levels of dysfunction that are not in, dysfunction isn't just environmental. It's not just emotional or relational, right? There's other levels of it. Danielle says harmony is her number 1. Yay. Okay, somebody give me a gold star. I feel like I deserve a little present for that. Awesome. Awesome. Elizabeth, is harmony your number 2? No, okay, cool. She's giving me stars though. Yeah, thank you. So some more questions, I want you to really embody what this is. I want you to feel it for a second. Is what am I putting up with? Write down. I'm going to read some questions out loud, and you can just start writing down on your piece of paper. What am I putting up with? Make some notes. Where am I settling for less? the shoulds, this next part says, where and when do shoulds show up in my life? Shoulds are also strengths related. So I believe people should work hard towards their vision, and I help them to do that because I have those strengths. I don't even mean to do it, but I'm like, people could. So if I don't shit on them about not doing it, but people could, it's an expectation I have. I'm like, why wouldn't you want to work towards your business? Why do you not want to do that? Why do you not want to do the steps? I could go into that space until I matured. People with high empathy, what do you think those shoulds might look like? If you have high empathy, people should care about how I feel, about what they said. I expect people to care about that. I need you to hear how I felt when you said that to me. I need you to hear me. Communication also has that. I need you to hear my words about what I said or what I think. Even high harmony has a need to be heard as well, because they sometimes wait to say it. They can wait to say it. So shoulds can totally be in there. If you don't know where your shoulds come from, it's possible they're harming people. If you haven't figured out where those come from and explore the origin story, they can get away from you. We can use them as weapons and expectations and excuses for disconnecting. It's just what happens because we're human beings, right? We're human beings. Expectations are also premeditated resentments. So when I'm in that space and I don't explore what my expectations are, sometimes I'm not actually in this for it to work out. I'm not committed to this relationship for it to work out if I'm not willing to go deep and explore what my expectations are. Okay, so let's go a little bit below here for a second. Screenshot this. You can do this later. If you have a Mac, Command-Shift-3. Things I want to start and I'm not starting. Like, this is a really powerful, I want you to put music on when you do it. I want you to light a candle. I want you to, this is going to show you where you are. This is going to reveal the current reality that's there. And if we could have this level of conversation with people we're doing life with, can you imagine the intimacy that's possible? You are going to be heard. But sometimes we need tools in order to have those conversations. It doesn't just come up. I want to create a game called Cards for Humanity. Where this is all we do. Because, that's basically the life that I live. That's my best life. But there's this place of we have to have better conversations if you're going to invest in a business. You're doing it the long, hard way if you don't know how to have these kinds of conversations with people. Anyone is capable of doing it. You don't have to have any training or background. You just have to be willing to be a stand for it, to be that person. And this process, again, for me, it's intuitive. Put the music on. I like to do it in the bathtub and it's pretty much, I have a 3-year-old, so it's the only place I can lock the door. So he may come in here in a moment. Wherever you can get that quiet time, spend the time on it. Number 3 is huge in terms of letting go in really developing this momentum is what you can't feel like you can't stop. So addiction can come in here, worrying. Like, I want to stop my worrying, or I want to stop my anxiety, or I want to stop the shame I feel around my procrastination. And some of you want to stop procrastinating, but procrastinating isn't about, there's loads of shame in there, but procrastinating is not about putting things off. Procrastinating is trauma. I would love you to erase the word procrastination. The fact that if that is in your, you're so used to it, you're like, I just expect myself to procrastinate. I just know I'm going to. Then you're living in, you just signed up for a shame certificate of I just pretty much live, out of alignment, taking things on that I'll never be able to commit to, so I can just have a negative headspace. Procrastination is about creating the conditions for focus. That's the antidote to that. And that means, especially if you have any neurodiversity is everybody focuses different, but the way we process sight, sound, smell, touch, all the 5 senses, the way we integrate that in our bodies is different depending on who you are. Now, sometimes we call that a disability. I have auditory processing disorder. I have now learned, and I have really focused on that this year, that it's really like it's a super gift. It's a super gift. And so when I was like resisting it and the shame that I felt, not having the right tools to even support it, the shame that I felt when I was trying to suppress it and not knowing, I had to learn how to ask the questions. As a kid, I mumbled, I couldn't repeat back what they were saying. I stuttered. I couldn't ask the questions because the information was coming in so fast and my brain can't make it work. So I had to raise my confidence up to be able to get my voice out there in the way that you see me do now. So for you, your senses, your environment, your sensory environment, the chaos can be in the way. Smells can be in the way. That's why you need aromatherapy. If you're not doing that yet, get on that train. Everyone's going to do it. Next year, 80% of people will have a side hustle. 80%. Get on the train of aroma healing. There is so much possible for you in embracing your neurodiversity. Figuring out what creates focus for you, what do your strengths need to create that focus, and then setting up a structure in your life and on your calendar and commit to it. Not like an order that makes you feel caged, but like where you're like excited because now you're so effective when you do sit down because you know what that ritual is for you. You know how to detox your energy in order to focus on the things that matter. You know how you're wired, and you can help other people do that. You're going to find focus is not an issue for you anymore. And suddenly you're not procrastinating. Suddenly you know what kind of help to get, which is really important. It takes a while to find the right help. I have about 4 people on my team that do various things, and it's growing. We'll probably have another 2 more next week. And it took me a while. I know which strengths I love to work with that I need. But there was this other space where I needed somebody who had compassion for my neurodiversity. I needed somebody who understood, who wasn't afraid of my chaos space or my crazy train, right? Like we all want somebody who can, we didn't want any other judgment in here. I need somebody who can cheerlead me, that sees my space and is like, that's cool. Those people exist. For some of you, I am that person for you because whatever you're building. But it's like where you're like, oh, that's amazing. Let's do more of that. We're going to need this over here. So where you're not judging it anymore. You're not judging it. That is going to create so much momentum. There's so much shame and judgment. Well, where does that come from? Your story. If you were rewarded when you performed it perfectly, you're going to have perfection issues moving forward. You're going to want things to look a certain way. If you were abandoned, you will always have a fear of rejection until we look at the abandonment. If your parents divorced when you were kids, you're going to have trauma and not even know it when people don't text you back. Especially if high connectedness, people aren't responding. Your imagination is like, why aren't they writing me back? Your desire to have a close group of people to work with. And then this fear that that's like fake and they're not actually on your team. They're on the team. You're sitting on the outside of the circle and wondering if you're going to belong. If you're competing or you're jealous of other people, we can link that back into your story. And if you feed the needs of your strengths and you embrace your story and we do some work around that trauma, it goes away forever. Your brain can actually form new neural pathways so you're not held up the way that you were. And it takes time, and sometimes it doesn't take much time at all. But if you're not aware of what that despair level is, which is why I took you to this exercise, if you're not aware of what that need is, what that reality is, you're not going to know the work that you have to do. You have to get real about how you feel about your performance. Do you know what your optimal zone is? What is your optimal zone? Optimal zone is that highest energy, highest performance, where you make the biggest difference and other people are like, yes, you do. You get that feedback of like, yes, that's it. Here's the gold stars. Like, you know, like whatever that is for you, that space is so important. And you are the only one that can do it. That's what you're here to do. That's it. And if there is a way to partner with people in your business so that everybody is in that genius zone, and then it's just the inertia of that really moves things forward. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. And at some point, you're going to have to stop saying yes to the things. You can't take those clients. You can't enroll those people. When you know it's not, when it has to be more than a number. You can't just enroll everybody. So I had to stop taking on empathy clients from banks. I had to stop doing that. I had to, they were like, here's $1,000. Can you spend an hour with them? I would love that $1,000 today because I want to buy some bedding for the guest room, or I want to feed a family, or I want to do something. I want to take my niece and nephews and go buy them school clothes. So I would love to go just do that hour with him and do it. And I could go do it. But when they call, right now I'm in a space in my integrity where that is a no. That is a no. And my ability to keep saying no allows all the right people in. Yes, Katie, we were just talking about this. It has to be a hell yes, not just a yes. Only hell yeses. Only hell yeses. Yeah, it's so good. So the way that we do this work is called Into the Looking Glass. It's a 6-week program. This is the last time that I am teaching it live. The videos will be there. And there will be other people teaching later on when we put that together. They're in a facilitator's training right now. But this is the last time. It starts on July 28th. It's 6 weeks. The first week is on identity. So like, who am I? What's the meaning of my name? And we start getting into where, all of those labels, like, so you were a kid, they called you bossy, you're probably a leader, maybe you have some other strengths things. So we're going to see the connection between who you don't want to be and who you think you have to be, and also who you are. So we go out and we're leading these businesses and we're really clear. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be her. I don't want to do it that way. We want to come into that place of confidence and vulnerability and be you. What is your gift in that space? We have to examine how you got there. Secondly, we move into self-trust. Here's the thing about self-trust. Everybody wants to raise their confidence in what they're doing, but with self-trust, we're looking at your relationship to keeping your word. Because when you don't keep your word, you shit on yourself, and now you've created another toxic environment. You're holding yourself back again. And we all do it, so no shame in that. But when you reinvent your relationship to what your hell yeses are, and you stop saying yes to the things that you feel obligated at, you start paying attention and becoming aware of what inspires you, you uncover this like thing in your gut that allows you to confidently keep it consistently and to make better choices about what you're going to put your time to, and feel the freedom of that and the chaos dissipate. It's amazing. So self-trust is chapter 2. Then we're going to move into also looking at self-sabotage, seeing 360, tolerations and incompletions, but on a deeper level, and moving into your vision and what you're here to do. Coming into that purpose, figuring out what that is. And we do this in a live group class like this, but where we're all talking. We use the breakout rooms. We use Marco Polo with it. There's a nice Facebook group. And what you're able to do in that space is you can come in and at a like 30,000 foot level and learn it. Because are you going to do all of that healing in 6 weeks? You'll do some. But we'll set a very clear goal for you at the beginning. But what you're going to be able to do is join a community that you can continue to work this out for as long as it takes. So once you purchase the program, you can take it again and again. That's how we do it. You can come in and join us, do it on your own. You're going to have it in Kajabi, and you're able, which is a platform that we host the course. And it's like you just have the support the entire way to your vision. Because everybody that's been in there is learning to mentor, and we hold that space. We actually have a couple people in here right now. Katie, can you unmute? I just want to know what you're thinking. Katie is in our coaching program called Art of Coaching. She has completed the Looking Glass and the Leap, but I would just love to hear what's percolating for you, seeing this class after having done it.
I'm thinking, well, I'm just listening, and I'm noticing that I'm still learning. I think there's a part of us that always thinks that once we've gotten from like, you know, that chart that you're showing, you know, like I've gone through all of the things, and then I get there, and just the other day we had a conversation, and here I was shitting all over myself and saying yes to things that I didn't need to. So just, I'm learning that staying in the work is so important, and knowing that like we all do it. It's part of the journey. And I'm also asking myself, like, maybe I should go back into the looking glass from a different perspective. Yeah. You know, like that'd be fascinating to me, just because my learner brain is wanting to absorb information from a different lens than I've had. So
thanks, Katie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's when I created it, I knew these were the 6 distinctions. These were the 6 things that I had to learn from living at the highest pain in the McGill Index and committing to a life that doctors told me was impossible. Like I was going to create the vision. I wasn't going to be stuck in that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't say that this was the end of my road. And I just want to honor Jacqueline, who's in here, who's living that same path. And so brave. Yeah. And I did not want that to be the end of my story, because I wanted my kids to be proud of me, and I wanted my family. I didn't want to be a burden to my family, and I was tired of needing people like for everything, you know, to make a bar for my bed, to hold the blankets up, by, you know, driving my kids, because suddenly, and you look like a head case when you're in that level of pain. And I knew that there had to be a way out, and having had the business knowledge prior, I just needed to contribute something. So these were the 6 wake-up calls that it took for me to start making different choices and not living in the victimhood of it. These are my 6 wake-up calls. So wherever you're coming from, they just happen to work really well in all these other areas. But for me, it was this path. And I know that it works because everything has improved and gotten better and restored and healed and reconciled, and my kids are doing amazing. And we've just healed so much. But I hold a fierce responsibility. I own how that worked for me. I know how that pain and that life with it, I know how I used it at times. Because we do, keeping ourselves safe. And I know we have to like face everything so honestly. It's why it's called Into the Looking Glass, because I'm like, come in here and let's take a real look, but there's way more hope available. I wasn't expecting that my life could be this good, but I knew I didn't want it to be that way. I knew it could be a little bit better. And that voice in my head saying, don't resent the hour, and come back into self-compassion. Don't resent the hour, and get curious and come into that. Are you raising your hand, Katie? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking too, going through that journey, I can think of all the times that I was extremely frustrated with the process itself, wondering if what I was doing is right, asking myself if I should be taking the time away from my family and my kids. And I could tell you from so many levels that of course it was, and still is, but I even like looking at tolerations when you're just talking, I'm thinking, gosh, how many things have I stopped tolerating that have made impactful differences, not only in my life, but in my kids' lives, in my husband's life, everybody. So the reach is far, and the work is worth it. And it's okay to get frustrated from time to time. Just stay in it, I guess. Yeah.
Kim, do you have any thoughts? I'm curious. Kim is one of our mentors as well.
I have too many thoughts, Kate. It's been an amazing journey, life-altering, life-changing. At this point in the journey, I'm noting that my strengths are shifting, and that's so fascinating. Things that were number 34 are no more. They're moving up quickly.
Yeah. You just hear things differently after a while, right?
Yeah.
Interpret things different. That's awesome. Love how.
And just listening to you talk today, I was struggling with closing loops. We didn't even talk about that, but now I know how to close the loop.
Yeah.
Thinking
Closing.
about things different.
Yes. Good stuff. Good stuff. Dr. Wendy, any words? Wendy is one of our facilitators.
Well, listening to Katie and listening to Kim and listening to you, Kate, of course, it seems like forever ago that I started Into the Looking Glass, but it really was probably about 8 months ago. And the different levels of transformation that I have gone through in that time have been incredibly profound. And when we're trying to make change in our life, like when I was trying to make change in my life a year ago, all by myself, I kept bumping into all of my same dysfunctional patterns. And looking at those of you who are in here, Katie and Kim, and it just that we were able to become mirrors for each other and help us see the true beauty in each of ourselves is just incredible. It's such a gift to have this kind of community. Really grateful.
Yeah. And the relationships that, when I think that's why we've had, we've had to offer two every time we've offered it this year, because I can't let the group size get too much, but there's been so much demand to, like, we want to do it and we want to stay in it. And because we're going to be wrestling with these things for a while. So if you find that these are your people or this is your time, like, you have time to do it, but there's going to be, every time you go through it, you get something different. I started offering them quarterly last year, and then now almost we did it every 2 months, because it improves my life to stay in that. I wouldn't have the success that I've experienced and desire and plan to create the impact. I want to help all of your voices now grow, because there's space that only you can hold for your team. You don't need me to do that. You need to learn how to hold your team in that way, and I could show you how I've done that. Or your clients or your family, or you are the one that they need. But we want to pass on what we've learned, and we are all reflections of each other. So it's, I can't hold as many people. I couldn't offer it in this way, and keep taking more people into that heart space. Not that I won't do that again, but I feel maxed out right now. So this will be my last one, so that I can create the space and then allow these other gifted teachers to take a turn with that. And we'll just shift how we relate. And I'll be doing more retreats. That's one of the reasons I'm moving up into my home, so that we can have more face-to-face time and continue journeying and offer new tools along that space. So the nitty-gritty details of this are, I'm keeping the pricing the same that it was in the pilot, which was a year ago, because this is the last time I'm doing it. I'm going to allow a larger class with an extra support space where some of my mentors will have a chance to support you, because we have a beautiful mentor class. So the cost of the course for the 6 weeks is only $1,000. It's the least expensive way to do this work. And you can make 5 payments of $225 if you need to make payments. And we have, so registration is open. And again, this is high touch, so I'm not using a funnel, go click a link and go. I'm not gonna take your credit card today. I can have Mandy send you an invoice if you're like, give me the seat. Because we will have a wait list. Just to give you the urgency, there will be a wait list. So if you are sure that you want to do it, message me, and Mandy will start that process with you. And it's July 28th, we're going to begin, let me see if we decided 5:30 or 6. Dun, 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 dun. It's 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. I know it's late for those of you on the East Coast, but it's also possible we'll have a sunrise one. If we fill up Sunday night, then we're going to do it at 6 a.m. on the 29th, which will be 9 a.m. Eastern. So the last 3 times we've had to offer both to handle the overflow. So if you're like, Sunday night I would be in, or Monday morning I would be in, just let us know your preference of time. And another really thing I just want to add to that, and I'm seeing 4 messages coming right now, so bless you guys. I'll make sure you're on the top of the list. We have, when you do it with people you know, It ups the game. So if, I'm just saying, when you do it with people you know, it ups the game. So if you're imagining you have relationships or people that you're working with, you can be it and go be the expert, but if you can be in the space and come in, it might be really, really helpful. This is not, let me read this question here. Can I do this just starting from scratch? Describe scratch for me, because I think we're all starting from scratch. Yeah. Let me unmute you for a second. Here, try it now. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Completely scratch. I just decided I want to do coaching. Like
Awesome.
complete scratch, like
Yes.
bottom. I have an idea, a name, just kind of everything's just in the works.
Absolutely. So when you take this course, you become a master self-coach.
Okay.
So when you start doing that, and then the next thing what comes after this one is the real leap, which is where you start looking at your relationships with others. And that's it's a transformation lab. So it's different. And then after that is the art of coaching. If you want to learn my way of mentoring, aside from whatever certification you would want to do. So that's the progression, under the KPI label. So doing this, not everyone in here is coaching or leading, but they have a commitment to help others. They don't come in if they don't care about people. We have never come, every person that comes in is like, wants to be of service or support, or has just huge hearts to make a difference in the world. So yes, everybody is starting from scratch. We do get coaches that come in because they need, some people come in because they want to learn how I do it. Some people come in because every single coach also has a chaos show and needs personal development. So it doesn't change because you get a certification. So so we have a wide variety. This year I've had 6 PhDs. I've had people shift careers. We've had millionaires take it, and we've had people on welfare take it. Because it works for everybody, right? We're all the same. We're just humans in it. And so there's nobody, so I do interview people as they're coming in, because if there's substantial trauma, I have to make sure you have the right support for that trauma. And I have practitioners that we work with. So there's people that are right here, and I'll introduce them to you at the beginning of the course. But I have turned people away who weren't ready to do that deep dive. They need therapy. This is therapeutic, but it's not therapy. We're going fast. We're going really, really fast. So you have to be in a healthy space or have that support to do it. Sometimes it just means people need a letter from their therapist. That's it. Yeah.
I'm a deep, I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Let's see. Okay, awesome. All right, so that's it. So message me if you want to be on that wait list, and I'll send it over. If you're just ready to go now, you can PayPal $225 today. I'll have Mandy send you the thing, and you're in. And we're going to start on July 28th. If you do that $225, we will get you in the group and get you logged in. When the new curriculum is going to drop that day. So we have brand new videos, a brand new PDF book that you can print, so that it's really nice, and you can actually just make a little binder and do all your journaling all there together with the brand new videos. And then you'll be able to take it forever. You'll have a lifetime access to that online, which is nice. You can take it again and again, whether I'm there or not. But that will drop on the 28th, but I can get you some pre-work. So thank you all for being here. I'm blessed. Thank you for the distraction, for the move. Now I'm tapped into why I'm doing this, and now I can go finish packing my boxes. Awesome. We'll see you soon. Thanks for being here. Take care.
Thank you.